Hello, everyone, and welcome to another exciting episode of King Me Revs Hype Podcast. Let me introduce my guest, and as I always do, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, humans of all genders, I'm very excited to have my first wrestler from the great state of Arizona, the one and only Steven, the Truth, Douch'e. Woo! Steven, thank you for being here today.
Thank you, Chris. It's a pleasure. I am your STD, and I love to be here, brother. Love to be your first Arizona wrestler. That's amazing.
Right? And, I'm sure people are going to be surprised that I didn't get that done a little sooner just because of the fact that I lived in Arizona for so long.
Right.
West Phoenix, I still got family out there in West Phoenix for sure. And I went to high school in Tolleson, Arizona and all that jazz. But, to be fair, this is a very, very finicky business. And as I always like to say, anytime someone takes the time to come on the show and talk to me, I am just as gracious about that as I am an understanding about the idea of someone may not have the time. So I have a couple of people on that I'm talking to that are going to Cody Dreamheart, the other Chris Evans, as I like to say, and a few others that I met through a guy named Lorenz Markel is going to be joining me eventually. But as you would know and better than me, I'm sure that this particular business is all time consuming. So, anytime somebody's like, "Hey, I was going to do it tomorrow, but I got to wait 3 weeks," never hurts my feelings.
Right. Oh, man. Especially right now for me, I've pretty much got 9 different jobs, running the business, Rise and Create, and then, doing the wrestling thing. And then you got family and home life and working out and trying to put it all together. And, a 24-hour day can be a little challenging.
Yeah, I totally understand on that perspective. And as I've said on the channel 1,000 times, I currently have 5 jobs. Not to mention, I am a newbie in training at wrestling school myself. I'm kind of jazzed about it, to be honest, just because there was a show last night on Radpro. Radpro, essentially, they are they kind of run. Then I know there's some other there's plenty of there's so many wrestling promotions as you would know all across the
Yeah.
world, but especially in
It's
America.
amazing.
But
Hmm.
but Rad Pro Wrestling, essentially like pretends like it's the '90s. So as of right now in the Rad Pro universe, it's only 1997, and when they're wrestling, they put everything in '90s terms. They have rules like, the pile driver is outlawed because of the territories,
Right.
and the
Yeah.
way they structure their stories and their, all their gimmicks and everything are 90s related. So,
That's really
um
cool, man. Hey,
it's
I always say you can be better than, less than, or different than. That's why I like something different.
right, right. And the great thing I would say, especially for like some of the students who come out of, let's say, chaotic, a lot of, well, not all of them, but a good portion of them are doing a very different gimmick, right? So maybe they're the good guy over in chaotic in most territories, but in Rad Pro they're the bad guy, and
Gotcha. Mm.
we it gives them those opportunities to try in different perspectives, because let's be
Mhm.
honest, if you get called up to the big leagues, you got to do whatever they say, right? I mean,
Exactly.
they're
Exactly.
like, "Hey, we're gonna put you in a penguin suit for a week."
Yep.
You could cry
You
about
gotta
it, or you could take the paycheck, right?
you gotta be
So,
able to do anything. Yeah, totally. And that's kind of part of the reason why we do certain things at the camp where kind of like acting classes. I took that from when I was doing that in Vegas. We do unique things where I'll throw in a thing and say, okay, now do it in Australian accent. Or, now you're, give them some random gimmick or some sort of, I call it a throw in, and it's like, okay, and just drop it on them last minute because they need to be used to not only being comfortable, being uncomfortable, but also, like you said, a bigger company is going to probably throw something at you unless you already have something good going on in the indies and everybody knows about you.
yeah.
But, most likely are going to do what they want to do. So you got to be able to, kind of do that on the fly. But
Yeah, and I mean, I always think of people like maybe like Paul White, the Big Show. that guy turned face and heel so many times it became a trope, right? Or a
Oh
guy
yeah.
like Chris Jericho, who's just changed his gimmick like every other year, anyways. You know,
Yeah.
I don't, I have several brothers. So when I say this, one of my brothers used to watch wrestling with me when we were much younger, and I kind of brought him back into the fold a couple of years ago. And I was kind of telling him all the different iterations of Chris Jericho and the different things he's gone through, and he was just kind of like, "Oh wow, I missed a lot." And I was like, "You missed the list. He wasn't there for the list. He's put him on
Oh
the list, right?
yeah.
He wasn't
Yeah. That was a
there,
good one.
right? He wasn't there for the like original iteration of like Japanese, like when he was kind of doing New Japan and like AEW, and he's wearing the eyeliner and the stuff, and he was kind of
Yeah. That's
you know what
right.
I mean? He
I
was
remember
doing that
that. Yeah.
whole
With the
right, and
Kenny
then
Omega. Yeah.
right, and then the whole I mean, for the for a good chunk of time, that song Judas was just so over. Like, it
It
didn't
was.
he
Yeah.
did there was the time where they didn't play the music, but we just sang along anyways, right? And
Mm-hmm.
so there was just so many things that my brother had missed in the, I don't know, 10, 15 years or whatever it was he stopped wrestling, and I always go
Yeah.
back to those type of things because when it comes to wrestling, you really got to be prepared for anything. Anybody
Yeah.
could be like, "Hey, you know, I'm sure when someone like, and this actually, it's funny. I was talking. My daughter is only 13 years old, so she missed there's a lot of wrestling history that she doesn't know because she wasn't there for it. But I was
Right.
telling her about like the character Eugene, and I was like, imagine being a person who goes through all that wrestling training, you finally get to go to the WWE, and they're like,
Yeah.
"Guess what, pal? We got an
Right.
idea for you. You're gonna be
Yeah.
the whatever the politically correct term is these days
Right.
for
Right.
the nephew of Eric Bischoff, and you're gonna be,
Yep.
challenged or disabled or whatever
Right.
the
Right.
proper nomenclature is." And
Yeah.
you're just like,
That's good
"Oh
shit,
well," and
pal.
yeah, exactly. "Good shit,
Right.
pal.
Right.
Oh,
Yeah.
make some more
Exactly. Yeah.
fart jokes. Oh."
Yeah. Yeah. Trying to get something over for one guy. No,
Right,
that's totally true, man. I mean, I think about like, I'm a 80s and 90s guy myself. So, primarily I think about like Matt Bourne when he played Doink. Um, Doink, original Doink as a heel was amazing and before its time. And if they could have gone even darker, which they couldn't at the time, but man, it would have been amazing. And even as it
yeah,
was, Matt was really good, and unfortunately had those demons. But um, the thing is like you just don't know. Like you said, you're gonna be Duke the Dumpster Drosy. I mean, poor guy, but
right.
guess what? Made it work for a while, so you just never know.
Yeah. I mean, look at Kane. How many different gimmicks he had to get? He had to be fake Diesel. He had to be Isaac Yankem, right?
Yeah, that's
So
probably the worst.
sometimes you gotta eat a little crow, and then eventually you get an amazing character like Kane that carries you for the rest of your life. Like
Yeah,
you never know. You never know.
you
So
never
it's hard
know.
to say no. It's hard to say no to something because, especially
Yeah.
to be fair, when it's the promoters, he's like, listen, this is what I think is gonna work for you. I
Mm,
mean, he's paying the check, so,
right. Yeah,
uh, is
exactly.
it the as long as the check clears, guys. If the check
Right.
doesn't clear, then you could just throw it out the window, right? The baby, the
Yeah.
bathwater, the whole sink, whatever it is, throw it out the window. But the check
Right.
keeps coming. It's like, I could think of worse ways of doing this. Um,
Yeah.
so
Man, there
did
was
you
a
watch
few.
wrestling?
Go
Uh,
ahead.
did you watch wrestling growing up?
Oh yeah, yeah. I would say since I was probably about 3 years old, man. For real. I mean, it's
Uh,
been a long
so
time.
who, what,
So,
like, do you have like favorite wrestlers, favorite moments from back then?
um, you know, I have probably a million. To think of one, I'll tell you what. I'll tell you my first memory of wrestling. I was sitting on my dad's lap eating popcorn. I had to be 3 or 4 years old, and it was during the rock and wrestling time. And I remember Roddy Piper promos. My mom was in the kitchen, kind of talking smack, like she couldn't stand him. And for some reason, I remember that very vividly. And then I kind of fell out of it because, hey, I'm four. I'm not going to like find it on the TV. And then
Right.
when I was 7 years old, I was it was like Sunday afternoon, no school. I was in the pool. I get out of the pool, I'm drying off. And Sunday morning, WWF All American Wrestling, I guess was on. And it was not even anything amazing. It was like Sergeant Slaughter doing a squash match against the jobber, and for some reason, I was like, "Oh yeah, this is it." I don't know why, but like it just drew me in, man. Oh, well, I mean, everybody that's probably watching this knows why. It's an unexplainable thing. It just sucks you in, and then when wrestling's at its best, there's nothing better. There's nothing else like it on the planet. It's my
Right.
thing.
And it's honestly something I've talked about on the podcast a few times with a few people for sure. But I always call them normies. Like, listen, they're for those who believe no explanation is needed, and for those who don't believe no explanation will ever do. Right? The
Yeah,
normies will
that's my
never
favorite
understand.
quote.
Right.
Yeah,
No normie will ever understand it, and
yeah,
they do go over their head. And it's funny because so many of them that watch, let's say superhero movies or the TV
mm.
shows or whatever, and it's like, well, that's scripted too, right? Okay, I don't know why you're giving me such a hard time about what I love, you bums, but
Yeah. It's kind of like if somebody comes at you and says the word fake. That's kind of a derogatory term to me, and I would explain it kind of just the way that you did. Do you watch TV? Have you ever seen a character? Like, yeah, I understand it's a TV show, but there's nothing fake about it. I mean
no,
that ring is wood and steel and a little bit of padding, as you know. And it's like, come on now, come down, try it out. I'll give you a free trial.
exactly. Exactly. There's Listen, any armchair quarterback that thinks they can do this, you are more than welcome to sign up for a fantasy camp anytime. And let's see
Right.
where if you can put your money where your mouth is, my friends.
Yeah.
I've only
Yeah.
been doing this for a very short amount of time on the inside of the ring. Let me tell you, there's nothing fake about it. All right.
Right.
It is, dude.
Exactly.
I landed wrong on a bump and my shoulder's been killing me for like 5 days. 100%
Yeah.
my fault because I should have known better. But like, you can't fake that. All right.
No,
Boom.
yeah, it's a
Get out
great
of
a
here.
great example too of what we do. Like, you're in midair and you're trying to remember five different things about, landing a good bump. And it's like, and then you're remembering what you just did, and then the next five steps when you get up and then playing to the crowd. And there's like 20 things going on in your mind. And so, to be able to perform safely, which is, our biggest thing we try to teach, because the bump is so important. And it's like one small thing, and yeah, it can easily get hurt. It just
Oh yeah.
it happens. It's not ballet, right? As they say. So,
No.
it happens
Nope.
very easily.
And it's and my trainers told me 75 times is the way you do it. And that one time I didn't do it the right way. And it
Right,
hurts,
right.
all right?
Yeah,
Am
yeah,
I crying? Not at all. Did I wanna
right.
cry? Maybe a little bit, but the point is that,
Right.
hey, you know what? I'm gonna be back on class on the next one, let me tell you.
Yeah,
Um,
there you go.
let
You know what you signed up
let
for and you got passion for it, and that's really important.
Exactly, exactly.
Yeah.
So, and it's funny you brought it up about the Sergeant Slaughter thing, and it was a great because a lot of people I've talked to them about going back and rewatching it, and they didn't realize, I guess maybe people were so focused on the Attitude Era, they didn't
Mm,
realize that just previous to the Attitude Era, like Raw especially, that was mostly like squash matches, to be fair. Like
it was. Yeah.
a lot of you go back and watch a Raw from the first 2 or 3 years that it existed, you're gonna see like literally every other match is an enhancement talent, right? Coming in
Mm,
and doing a thing with somebody. A lot of
yeah.
it was more that than storylines that of anything. And
Mm,
it's always kind of mind-blowing to go back and think of that time because it was just a different era. It was a different thing. And
totally different.
really what
The business model, man, was totally different. They were trying to
right,
sell tickets at a local event, and it was all about tickets, and merch, of course, too. And they had to pay to be on TV. And now it's all about getting paid for the rights for the content and the media to be on TV. Like now, it actually damn near costs them money to have a live audience. The COVID era kind of proves that. Um, the deal WWE got to be on Netflix, just that alone, for example, they're buying their content, and it's like, man, the business model is completely flipped and changed. No more
right.
paying to be on TV. Now you're getting a billion to be on TV. It's just totally different.
Yeah, I mean, and that's one of the big things going on with the whole idea of people leaving, right? Because they realize that they're just a TV show now, so
Yeah.
we don't need as
Yeah.
many people do it. They're not doing house shows anymore. They're not.
Yeah.
It's
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 too
kind
bad.
of and it really is because a lot of those things were like honestly were some of the best memories for me were and I'll never forget like Razor Ramon talking, Scott Hall talking about how Shawn Michaels and Razor did a bunch of ladder matches on the house circuit, and
Mhm.
he was saying that's, you know, yeah, there he would say, if you would think that the ladder match we did at WrestleMania was great, you should have saw a couple of the ones that we did on the house shows, and it's like,
I heard that story. Yeah, it's amazing. Yeah, it's
yeah,
unfortunate, man. Guys can't get their reps in. It's just really important to just keep going and practicing and and I understand there's, the idea is maybe less injuries also as part of it. I'm sure, but then I heard McIntyre say the other day, and I agree with this too. Your body gets conditioned to the ring, and when you're out of it for a while, and then all of a sudden you're in it, you really feel it a lot more right after that.
yeah,
Like Drew McIntyre was saying that he's training now almost MMA style, like for the next match. Like he knows his next match, and then it's like training for that match specifically, that person. And it's kind of amazing when you think about it. They're not running 5, 6 days a week, two on a Sunday, 300 something days a
yeah,
year. Like, because that conditions your body, like when I'm in there bumping every night, and then let's say we have a week off for some reason, you come back. Yeah, yeah. I think you're at risk for more injury than had I continued to do it. I mean, it's hard to say, man. I don't know. I'm just saying it could be either or, probably one of the reasons. But, if it's costing them money to do house shows, obviously it's not a good business model. But it's just too bad. That's unfortunate, for everybody, I think.
right. Because those reps do become important, and hopefully, honestly, I was thinking about it myself this morning. I was like, there's got to be a way where people can get reps in more often. Maybe they're going down to the performance center. Maybe they're going to a local. There are plenty of professional wrestlers that have their own, wrestling schools or whatever, but I'm sure they could crash at a wrestling school. If any WWE or AEW wrestler want to come hang out at any wrestling school I'm affiliated with, come on by. We're
Right. Yeah, for sure.
doors open, man.
Right, right. Yeah, it's
Especially,
one of those sorry, one of those things too though, where like well, like you just said, you could train somewhere, you can have your own ring, da da da. Like I believe last time I saw backstage at Raw, they had of course the ring in the arena, and then they had one or two rings set up in the back so everybody could, get some practice in what they're doing that night. Um, but there's no live crowd, so without the experience of, a live crowd that's interacting with you and you having to play off that, those are kind of really important reps, of course, but almost more so than, trying to structure the match together. I don't know. It's kind of up and I don't know. I'd say either one may be equally as important, but yeah, man, I don't know. Like we trained every night. I'm in the ring every night, but I can tell you, like being in front of people, that's really where you learn some shit, for real.
you're not wrong. It's much it's because I could just say words all day. But it's a completely different thing when the ability to actually get in the ring and be able to actually deliver the lines appropriately in front of people. You know what I mean?
Hmm.
So it's
Yeah.
there's that pressure, but it's also like I don't know. I love it, man. I absolutely
Yeah. I
the
do too. It's funny because I'm an introvert completely. It's like I don't even go outside, right? But all of a sudden, I'm doing what I'm doing, and I love what I'm doing. But it's kind of funny. It had to be exactly what it was. It had to be something I love to be able to kind of come out of your shell. At the same time, you got a mask on. Anytime you're a character,
right.
you get to put that mask on, and that can be a lot of fun too. So, I just kind of balls to the wall, go for it. But at the same time, if I think about it too much, it's gonna suck. If I overthink it or because
Yeah.
I'm just really introverted, like, whatever. But yeah, I don't know, man. Wrestling's different for me. I don't know why.
So what made you want to become a wrestler?
Okay, well, I'll tell you what, it kind of goes back to what we're talking about being a kid. I'd say around 1992. Bret Hart was my favorite wrestler, the old hitman, and for me, I kind of it's kind of a long story, but um, kind of needed a hero at that time. Maybe things in my life weren't the best. Um, a lot of things going on. And this is part of the reason I kind of want to give back to the rest of the world. If you make a moment for a kid or a memory, or think about it like this: if there's a little kid in the front row, I'm going to go up and interact with them at every show because he's never going to forget that. And especially if your face is such a big thing. So for me, being a kid watching on TV and watching Bret Hart, just the character, the good guy, he goes in, tries to get it done, he does his best. Um, just that character, I think at that time was something I really needed and I really attached to. It wasn't the classic, well, let me tell you something, brother, and so it was kind of like diverting into that new generation. And I needed it at the time. And I think it'd be great to someday be able to give back in some way to some kid that might need this outlet that we call professional wrestling. To be there for somebody and not even know it. You got thousands, millions of people watching you on TV, and you have no idea the impact that you could be making in somebody's life. And like I said, long story, I'll go full circle here. In 2011, I was in the front row to Raw, and me and a couple buddies on TV all night, probably because I had a few beers and I was doing all cheering at the wound and shit. But Bret Hart was randomly there. It was in Portland, Oregon, because I'm actually from Oregon. He was randomly there in 2011. What are the odds? What are the odds in front row? And then at the end of the show, Brett comes out of the ring and he starts going around like flapping everybody's, high five, high five. And I'm like, oh, I'm taking this, So I'm running over there like in front of kids, like getting in line, yeah, And he comes by and he stops at me, and I shook his hand and I looked him square in the eye, and it was almost a very emotional experience. And I said, thank you. And then I went to turn away and he held my hand. He didn't let go. And he pulled me in. And I turned back around and he goes, no, thank you. And it's like, whoa, it just meant so much with those few words, because me thanking him for being there for me and him thanking me for being there for him, because without the fans, you got nothing, right?
Right.
What we do, we talk about like the COVID era, but really what we do without those live events, without those fans, the lights don't turn on. So man, like it was just such a crazy moment that I'll never forget, And once again, there's a memory, I was in my 20s or whatever, and it's like, holy cow, man. I don't know, it just meant a lot to me. And I don't know why he even did what he did and said it the way he said it, but I was like blown away. It was cool.
Yeah, that's an incredible story. And
Yeah,
to be quite frank, it's it's kind of like, and for anybody who would have seen the vlog, that's why anytime I see any of my heroes or my people, I make sure to give them props. Like
right.
even if I feel like I might be making an ass out of myself or whatever it is, I would rather be genuine and sincere in that moment than
Yeah.
regret what I should have said or could have said or would have said or whatever. When I got the
Well,
ability to talk to people, over especially like the last couple of years going to different WrestleManias, anytime I've had the opportunity to interact with any professional wrestler, any wrestling professional, I've always made sure to say genuine thoughts and feelings. And then I love to reciprocate any kind of like positive energy.
mhm. Oh yeah, for sure. Me and you were talking, I think, before we got on air about WrestleCon, and we're both there and had a great time. But we were there for the business, Rise and Create, to market and promote and try and get a national presence. At the same time, also as ourselves, as our characters, as STD, going around meeting, you know, workers that have made history, that are larger than life, are people's heroes. Your Lex
Right.
Lugers and your Jerry Lawlers, and my God, the list went on. There's like 60 people there. Where the fanboy in me inside is like, ah, this is awesome. And then I'm like, oh yeah, I'm here in business. But genuinely, when I would go up and introduce myself, it's like, hey, I thank you. You know what I mean? Like, this is me. This is what I'm doing. Just letting you know. But oh, by the way, maybe give him a story or two. Uh, $1 Million Man, one of our buddies that went with us, he was telling him the story about when Ted DiBiase was bouncing the ball. Remember this famous vignette? Or actually, it was out on stage, and he had the little kid in the audience come up, and
Oh,
he was, having them count, and then like if we got to 10, I got the money or something like that.
Yeah, yeah,
Anyway,
yeah.
very impactful for my buddy's daughter. And she would bring it up every time they talk about wrestling. So he was able to get at WrestleCon Ted DiBiase to make a video for his daughter talking about the bouncing of the ball. And it's just like, man, full circle, comes all the way back. It's that thank you, it's that emotion. Like that's what
Really.
we do, make memories, evoke emotion. Good stuff, man.
Yeah, and that's honestly one of the reasons I just love professional wrestling to no end because, you know, whether it's myself or let's say my daughter, right? We both have said on several occasions, professional wrestling saved our lives, like for
Dude, I was
different
gonna say
reasons,
that too. Yeah.
you know.
I
And there's just been so many, and it's kind of a weird thing because you see all the evil arguments on the internet, but genuinely in person, um, normally it's the opposite, right? There's always, for anybody who would have seen it, I went up to Zilla Fatu and I thanked him for the advice he gave me. And I was like,
cool.
I didn't expect to honestly to have any emotion to it, but being there in the moment, I just got emotional. And
Yeah.
it was a reciprocating energy where him and his mom just were comforting and just grateful, and I'm practically a stranger. They just some crazy guy in a room crying, but I was wearing a nice tuxedo, so they were just like
Yeah,
they
yeah,
listened to the story and they were like, you know what, they were so gracious with their time and whatever, and I got to go back 3 days in a row and say hello to them every day and
right.
be
Isn't that cool?
friendly with, right? And it's just, and
It
I
was
could say that
amazing.
about a couple of different people, like Simon Miller. Simon Miller, the
Oh
what
yeah.
guys of what they're those what culture guys are absolutely incredible. And the
Yeah, I
fact that I
love them.
got to hang out with them for 4 nights, four
Yeah,
nights, right?
yeah.
And they were just like high-fiving me, hugging me. There was a couple after the shows, like we were just sitting there, we sat there for like 2 hours just talking about wrestling and other stuff. Like it was just
That's
like
cool.
here are dudes that I've like seen on in YouTube channels for like 10
Mhm.
years
Yeah,
and
I've
we're
been
just
watching them every day for like 4 years, so I know what you mean.
right. Right.
So
So it's just kind of a surreal experience to be sitting at a bar
it is.
with Adam Nicholas and Adam Wilborn, just like talking about random wrestling nonsense. Like there's
Yeah,
no, you know what I mean? Like
yeah.
the beauty of it. And
Mhm.
you know, I've said it on the air and my daughter would pull out the bingo card at this point, Rev do bingo card, but like and I had to kind of chuckle because you picked Bret, but Bret Hart's I mean, the best there is, the best there was, the best there ever will be. So you can't say anything bad about Bret Hart. But me
Right.
being, when I first saw Shawn Michaels, I was like the
Ah.
runt of the litter, right?
Oh, oh yeah.
So for me, Shawn Michaels was like the little guy who, I was picked on, I was bullied by kids in the
Yeah, me too.
neighborhood, my older siblings, right? And so
Yeah,
when I saw Shawn Michaels being the little guy kicking the big guy in the face, that inspired me to like stand up. And granted, I still got the shit kicked out of me, but at least I didn't run away from the punch. You know what I mean? Like, all right,
exactly.
well, I'm going down swinging, guys.
Yeah.
So to the point
No,
where
that's
I named my son Sean Austin. My son's
oh,
named
that's
after Shawn
cool.
Michaels and Stone Cold Steve Austin. And he
That's
probably
cool,
wishes I'd
man.
stopped telling everybody the story because he's not even a
Uh,
wrestling fan, but
well,
it's I feel like a lot of wrestling fans have similar stories, similar backgrounds. I had someone who was on the podcast and he created a wrestle prom, and it's actually happening next Saturday, May 16th. And the way he explained it was he was sitting there thinking about how he didn't have a prom. And then he realized that so many of us were outsiders and outcasts that
mhm,
we never got to have the same kind of experience. Like some of us maybe didn't go to prom, or some of us maybe didn't have the experience of a prom like other people did because we were the weird wrestling freak kid, right?
right, right.
So he wanted to make a prom night for wrestling fans where they could just be themselves and they didn't have to worry about like the social stigmas of the universe. And I thought that was a beautiful sentiment. So, I mean,
That is, that's crazy. Wow,
shout out to AJP and the RWA for putting that on and genuinely
that's really
giving
cool.
care about like our community at large because you know, I, you know, pretty much I've anywhere I've gone and I've talked to either a wrestling professional or a professional wrestler, because there's a difference. Um,
Hmm.
um, there's a difference, guys. All right, because
Yeah, I like it.
there are some lifelong referees who know more shit than some of the wrestlers that only been around for a couple of years. Let's be honest.
Oh yeah,
Like, I would
yeah,
listen to
yeah,
Earl Hebner or Mike Chioda. You know what I mean? They probably know some
yeah,
shit. They've
yeah,
seen some stuff. They've seen some stuff, right?
yeah.
But
I had lunch with Earl at WrestleCon. You brought that up. That was amazing, and it was random
oh
as hell. But sorry, just throwing that in there. I love
no,
Earl.
that's great. That's
When we were
and that's
leaving, I told him, I said, "You still screwed Brett." Yeah, it's kind of a funny thing, but
luckily he did apologize and got forgiveness. So there you go.
that's right.
Um,
That's right.
right, right. He got shit for that for a long time.
Oh
Valid,
God, yeah,
valid shit, but
yeah,
he did get shit for it for a long time. And
yeah.
um,
Sorry, I didn't mean to
luckily,
interrupt you. Go ahead.
no, it's all, that's one of the things that I've tried to tell people about, like going to the WrestleCons or going to, because they have them normally a couple of times a year, WrestleCons or just conventions or whatever in general, and it's not even just wrestling. Like, my daughter used to be a really big Power Rangers fan, right? We went
Mm,
to The funny thing is we went to a collectibles card show, and it was mostly for sports memorabilia, but there were some Power Rangers there. And we
yes,
spent like in a total of 2 days, probably like anywhere from 10 to 12 hours just talking to these people. We literally just stood at their table and just talked to them the whole day. And
that's
anytime
cool.
someone came up, we just walked out, we just took a step back, let them do their business, and then they leave. But basically what I'm saying is most people who go to a sports card collectibles thing doesn't care about the Power Rangers. So we got to just bend
Right.
their ear. So you'll just never know when you could have an amazing experience, and never shy away from taking the opportunity, because I guarantee you, in my Kofi Kingston story, um, I went to WrestleMania last year as well in Las Vegas. I went to this restaurant and it was Easter Sunday, and sure enough, Kofi Kingston and his entire family came to the restaurant. And
Mm,
I didn't want to be the guy that bothered him, but I
hmm.
just asked, just realized that my waitress was his waitress. So I asked our waitress, I said, "Hey, do you see the guy with the backpack?" Which I'm assuming the tag championship was in there, because it was the Sunday. So that Saturday night he had won the tag team championships.
Mm.
I said, "Can you just ask that guy if I can buy him a drink? Like, I know he likes, I think it's like Chardonnay." I was like, "Tell the champ I want to buy him a drink." So
Yeah.
she's like, "What the hell are you talking about?" Like, okay, let me explain it to you, Normie. That guy just won his tag team championships down the street at the stadium in front of like 60,000 people. I just want to
Right.
see if I can buy him a drink. So she goes over, and all you hear is a bunch of laughter from his table. They're just laughing their heads off. So I'm just like, "Yeah, it's me. I'm the wrestling weirdo in the room. Hi, everybody. Yeah, that's me." He gets up
Right.
and
Right.
comes over, and I start like having a panic attack. I'm like, "Oh my God, he's coming over." So I get up, we talk for maybe like 6 minutes in the restaurant, just like, I shake his hand. He's like, "You want a picture?" And I was like, "I really wanted a picture. I didn't want to ask, but since you said I can have a picture, I'll take a picture." And I took like the worst picture ever. Thank God for the internet, because I was able to clear it up. But I was probably
Oh,
shaking. My hands were probably shaking as I'm taking this selfie. And
oh,
then
gotcha.
it was great. But you just never
That's
know when
awesome.
you're gonna have a wonderful experience with someone, and it, like you.
Yeah, I mean, and speaking of WrestleCon and that WrestleMania weekend, we went out every night afterwards, and except I didn't go out the last night, needed to sleep a little bit. But we ran into the randomest people. There's all kinds of, you see these guys on TV every week, and like I said, it's great to be able to meet them and market yourself and tell them what you're doing, but to actually sit down and have a conversation and have some drinks, awesome. God, we met a ton of people that I just didn't even know was going to be there. Guys from the 2010s randomly pop up, and it was an amazing time, amazing experience. So yeah, it meant a lot to me. Maybe not a lot to them, but I was able to,
Right.
like I said, and just gain a little bit of exposure there in that area. And yeah, man, you never know. I mean, it doesn't even have to be during a con week. There's a lot of wrestlers that live in Vegas now, which is kind of my primary location as far as doing shows and what have you. It's about an hour and a half away. And in Vegas, about a year and a half, I was staying at the D, and long story, but there's this place where it's like a bunch of pools that go up like this. I don't know if you've ever seen it. They got the largest screen in the world. And I randomly met Nick Nemeth there, and I come up to him and we're in the pool. We're like in our shorts, and he's got this lady with him, of course. And I come up and I'm like, "Hey, you're Dolph Ziggler, right?" And he's like, "Well, I used to be." And then but we just started talking, and I ended up buying him a drink, and then I didn't want to stay too long and ruin his game because he had something going on. But
Right.
random dude. Like I've met random wrestlers at random times, and it honestly, almost everybody's been amazing. They've been really cool. You don't really I haven't met a lot of assholes, honestly. So it's been really cool.
Yeah, as long as so many people do it in some of the most disrespectful ways. So I always try to advocate, don't be the guy standing outside of the bathroom stall for an autograph, guy. Like,
Oh God.
be
I
respectful.
saw that.
Once again, I didn't go up to Kofi Kingston with his entire family and ask for a picture.
Right,
Some people
right.
might have. I literally
Sure.
just said, "Hey, my waitress, can you ask if I can buy him a beer?" Because I thought
That's
that would have been
perfect.
cool. I thought that would have
Yeah.
been a cool story to be like, "Hey, man, I saw Kofi Kingston in the thing, and I bought him a beer," or he said no to beer, but I bought him a Coca-Cola. I don't give a shit. I bought the
Right.
champ a drink. Sounds awesum. Virgin
Yeah.
margarita. I don't whatever the fuck he picks, I'll buy him a
Right.
sandwich. I don't care. I bought him lunch. And it's like
That's great.
anything. So that's
Yeah.
just be respectful out there. And honestly,
Exactly, man.
I've
Yeah.
yet to have a time where I've gone with respectful energy and it's not reciprocated in some way. Like I've yet
Right.
to see that, right?
Yeah.
Gene
Uh,
and Gene Snitsky is actually a good
yeah.
sport.
Um,
I don't know if you got to talk to him at all at WrestleCon, but I saw him last year and this year at WrestleCon. And last year he happened to be standing next to Lita, and I thought
mhm.
that was the wildest thing. And
Yeah.
I got my autograph, and when we were done, I was like, "I see Snitsky's here. If he gets out of line, just let me know. I'll put him back into shape or whatever."
Right.
And
Yeah.
he's like, "I heard that." Yeah, it was great.
Nice. Yeah. I mean, speaking of which, like I said, random, but of course it was WrestleMania weekend. We're at the Nerd Bar. Lots of guys out that night, and I actually took a little video. Start having a few drinks. Took a little video, and then behind me, I'm like, "Oh, there's Knitsky and Vikingo," and it was a random interaction. They were talking to each other, and just got done talking to them, but very random. It's one of those things where I was like, "Hey, you know what?" I thought to myself, "I'm going to film this for a sec, not to put online, but just like this is surreal. This is weird, like this ain't normal for me anyway. Like this is a great time."
Right.
And so yeah, it was really cool. It was yeah, but yeah, I met Snitsky, good guy for sure.
Yeah, super good guy. Shout out to him. He follows me. I don't know why he
All right.
followed me, but he's always been super nice to me. Anytime I see him, he makes sure to say hello. And he actually, anytime normally when he's doing stuff for a con, he's actually doing it for a nonprofit, Bustin'
Hmm.
for Autism.
Oh,
They're
cool.
actually out of Manchester, New Hampshire. I used to live there. It's about an hour away from where I live now, but the wonderful people that do very awesome things for kids with autism, which I touches my heart because all three of my children are actually diagnosed with that as well. So the wonderful people over there. I know last year they had Rikishi. This year they had Snitsky and Shane Douglas for a couple of days.
Hmm.
But yeah, I made the joke to Snitsky last year, but afterwards I went over and talked to him, and I was like, "I was just kidding, bro. Don't kill me," because he's still a huge guy. Let's be
He
real.
is.
And
Yeah.
he's like, "Nah, dude, I get it. You were just razzing me." I was like, "All right, thank God. I didn't want
Right.
you to break me in half." And we
Yeah.
just
Yeah.
struck up a conversation about the whole thing, and I donated money to it, and I was just super excited, and
That's
it was
cool, man.
super
That's
cool to
awesome.
see those people all over again this year. So it's
Yeah.
almost it's very painful that that
WrestleMania is not going
WrestleMania.
to be there again.
Yeah, it's almost, or at least like not in America as of right now, because it's like I feel like there's like a whole, most people don't understand, like, because like that nerd bar you were talking about, they had so many shows going on there. They had
Every
like
night. Yeah.
every single night you could have been there
Mm.
till 3 in the morning watching
Yeah.
wrestling, hanging out with RVD's 420 party, whatever it is. They had all
Yeah.
kinds of stuff. And
Yeah.
like you said, I was walking around in a different tuxedo every day. People
Hmm.
asking, what are you doing? What are you doing? I'm doing my thing. And I met wrestling promoters and wrestlers and yada 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 from all different walks of life and different countries and all kinds of stuff. And it was just like, man, we're gonna miss this next year. Oh,
Right. I know,
that's
huh?
rough. It's very
But
rough to
like I
think
said,
about.
it was a great time and experience to be able to get in there and not only market yourself, but our company. Because like I was saying to the boys, there's no other time we'll probably ever be able to do anything like this. Like
Right,
even if it's like you said in America somewhere, you got to save up so much money to go, and then you got to get the booth, and then like it's a whole con thing. And this was in our backyard. We
right,
have only been around since December, Rise and Create, and so it's like, hey, this is a great opportunity, being worth its weight in gold to go in there and meet everybody and market everything. And so, you know, like I said, probably won't happen again, and it's almost too
right,
bad because if that was an annual thing, I'd be there every year, uh, doing our
right.
thing.
So how about we talk about Rise and Create? Let the audience in because I know I had talked to you and Cody about it while we were in WrestleCon, but let's let the audience understand more. Let tell inform us all about Rise and Create.
Well, basically, we are a wrestling camp. We're not a traditional wrestling school. There's only about like 6 camps in America. And there might be one or two more that I don't know about, but I try and keep up on that. But the camp is so much different than a school. We're a 12-week camp. Most wrestling schools are drop-in style. So you could be on your second day, your fellow students on month 10, yet you're being taught the same class, no matter your level of advancement. It doesn't really make a whole lot of sense. Wrestling schools sometimes can take advantage of that and waste your time and money, and you could train for years and not even get a match. I remember some of the ones I was going to, there'd be like 22 students there, and I was in the ring for 2 minutes. And I drove an hour and a half to be there, and an hour and a half back, and I thought, man, there's got to be a better way. And which led me all the way to not knowing I was going to do this until last year, opening up the wrestling camp. But a wrestling camp, at least us at Rise and Create, RIZENCR, the number 8. Um, at Rise and Create, you'll be working matches in as little as 12 weeks. So with a wrestling camp model, it's structured, immersive, proven from day one to the last day. Everybody's going to train at the same rate with an equal amount of ring time. That doesn't really happen at wrestling schools unless you only have a few people, right? And even then, do they have a beginning and an end or a program or some sort of model? And I've done a few wrestling schools. I traveled around. I tried to find the right one that's for me. And then I went to the camp and I was like, "Oh man, this is it." Um, but yeah, that doesn't really happen at the schools. But by the end of the camp, you'll be working matches with the other students, coming up with their own matches, knowing the proper structure and psychology that goes into a wrestling match. When you talk about like the shine and the heat and so on, like the structure itself, I went to a wrestling school the first 4 months I started. Nobody said a word about that. Like nobody even, and that's okay. Maybe it would have come up. I mean, like you kind of have to know what you're doing in there. The who, what, why,
Right,
when, and where. And so anyway, um, that's the thing though. It's like for us, we tried to kind of dive deep into everything, and get you ready within that certain amount of
right,
time. And the camp model doesn't really sway in any kind of direction. Like I pretty much am going to do the exact same camp each time. I might make some minor adjustments, but the reason I'm doing that is because when I went through the camp, I went through it twice. First time I was injured, had to fly home. They said come back. I'm talking about flatbacks for anybody listening. Flatbacks in Florida, Popka, Tyler Breeze, Sean Spears, great guys. Went through that twice, so I was there for about 6 months. Um, but yeah, man, I was like, this is the way to go. But the whole thing about it is like when they say, you're going to be done and working matches at the end of these 12 weeks, it was so structured and precise. You learn something, move on to the next step and the next step, and then, while doing the reps at the same time, and then putting it all together into a match. So by the last couple of weeks, you're coming up with your own matches. And I was like, oh man, this is great. And then Breezy actually was like, hey, you can always go back home and teach the same camp. And I was like, okay, well, all right, like didn't really think I would, but here we are, And but yeah, we at Rise and Create, we try and really, dive deep into the characters. So lots of promo practice. We do in-house theme music provided if they so wish. So you can use that anywhere without copyright problems. We have a gear maker, makes our guys' gear, logo design, hand sign, entrance poses, regular promo pose, merchandise made, sold on the website. How to get booked? I'll get you. I hope get you booked. How to make a wrestling resume? How to market yourself? The performance center etiquette as of I guess it's been about a year and a half. So when I say that at Flatbacks, it's like a WWE farm system. So essentially, they're saying, okay, as of today, because Breezy and Spears work at NXT during the day, they come down and
Right.
teach their own flatbacks at night. It's like very up to date etiquette, and it could be something small. Like, okay, now there's this new mandate. You got to grab the guy like this instead of like from the hair, like little things like that. So I'm literally, I wrote everything down, man. I wrote everything down. So I copied it and then added my own flavor and then added all this extra stuff that nobody else is doing, really trying to help the best I can to make the best character I can that's literally ready to go, and so when you leave by those 12 weeks, you can safely work a match, somewhat limited because it's 12 weeks, but you can do something in every scenario, and we're big on psychology and structure and safety but you can certainly work a match. And then, you never stop learning in this business. So I can't stress that enough. We also do extended training that anybody wants that already is a worker or has been through the camp. I highly, highly recommend that, to just keep training as much as possible. But we meet 3 days a week, Monday, Wednesday, Friday. Um, but yeah, man, kind of the do's and don'ts I feel a little privy to, because of that connection to flatbacks as of about a year and a half ago, last time I was there. So yeah, things are going to change over time, but to be able to kind of know some little things helps a little bit as far as what the performance center is looking for at NXT. I spent a couple of days with Gabe Sapolsky, who's right under Shawn Michaels, does the scouting, the indie wrestlers, and talked to him a lot, really picked his brain, got some really good information from that. But, Rise and Create, we're going to run some shows later this year. We've hooked up with some business partners and promoters. Um, but yeah, we're in the middle of Phoenix and Vegas. We're about 3 hours from Phoenix, hour and a half from Vegas. There's tons of promotions all over here. I think Phoenix alone has like 7 wrestling promotions. It's big. We're right on the tri-state border in California, Nevada, and Arizona. We are right in Arizona, like you said, right on that line in Mojave Valley, which is in Mojave County. Um, but I know all the local guys, the local promotions, the promoters. We're setting up a lot of great deals and partnerships with a lot of them. And we've only been in business since last December. So, things are really are popping right now and really grateful, really blessed, lucky, all those great words. And I'm excited, it's like, man, like I said, things are kind of starting to take off here. So let's do this thing. Um, but yeah, it's we got all kinds of things going on right now. So like right now we run monthly shows that are called open houses and they're free shows. So by open house, anybody that wants to come down and try us out and get in the ring, take a bump, run the ropes, anybody that wants to try that before they, sign their name and enroll in the entire camp, totally cool. Highly recommend it, right? Excuse me. And so at those open houses, we also have a showcase match. So, for the students that have graduated from the 12-week course. So the people that come can see, oh, okay, that could be me. I could do that. It's that A to Z. Oh, this guy went through it and now he's out there working. And so, we got we're starting to go out there and get booked. And you mentioned at the top of the show, Cody Dreamheart, Golden Standard. My one of my good friends. He was actually my very first student. And he's out there getting booked, man. Matter of fact, we're wrestling each other at Desert Pro Wrestling, Holtville, California, May 16th. Come check us out. Called Rise Above. That's going to be great. But yeah, like I said, you never stop learning. So even after the 12 weeks, highly recommend, of course, to keep coming back. and we have some free ring time, extended ring time. We've got guests that randomly will pop in. I've been talking to Juicy, and he wants to come do some things with us. And like I said, partnerships. Uh, Gosh, we got so many going on. Made Fight League. Um, my good friend Ryan at Prescott Pro Wrestling. Like, we just endorse a lot of people too. We want to see the business grow. We want to see the local promotions grow. Um, so I don't know, man. Like, not to toot the old horn, but like I said, at Rise and Create, we really do have good connections. We can get you seen by WWE NXT trainers. Like 2 days ago, I talked to Breezy, and I could call them anytime. And I'm just saying, like, the future students, hopefully they realize what we truly are. We are here, we are prominent, we have arrived, and we're pumping out talent. And now we're being seen. So things are starting to really get confirmed. I don't know. I'm excited, man. Anybody that wants to check it out, riseandcreate.com, RIZENCR8.com. So yeah, thank you for the time to be able to plug that, baby. Yeah,
There you go. That's what it's all about, right? You got to hype it up. Um,
yeah,
all of that sounds wonderful. All that sounds fantastic, and it makes total sense. I was in the army, so it would have been rough if I was trying to train to be a soldier and I was jumping in and out of things all the time. Totally get it. So, I totally understand where you come from that perspective. Also, the idea of just showing up every single day doing it, it also does create, I'm sure, a bond and a camaraderie between the people, whether it's the trainers or the trainees. The idea of, I've seen all of us grow together as individuals, as a group, as a team. It makes it so much easier because, I mean, quite frankly, a lot of, I guess, and this is actually something a lot of those like armchair quarterbacks, I say, all right, they don't understand, and they could never probably understand, is that when you're in that ring, you got to be able to trust that person across the ring from you. You got to be able to know
yeah,
that this person, whether they like you or not, that doesn't matter. They know how to do the business, period.
yep,
And if they
yep.
can't do business the right way and safely, you can't be in the ring with them, right?
Right,
Like I,
exactly. Yeah,
like,
and I'm kind of glad you brought that up. Not everybody is going to be able to, quote, graduate from our camp. If there's things that still need some polishing up, or they can't do, or lacking in any kind of way, they'll have to go to the extended training, because I'm putting my name on these people, in the company
right.
name. Like, they have to be ready to work. They got to be ready to get this done. So if they can't, that's fine. We have that extended training. Not everybody's going to be able to do everything. Not everybody's even going to be able to do what we do, as you know. And take a bump and say bye. I've seen it a million times. Um, and that's fine. We want people with a lot of passion that want to come in and get it done, man. So we're hungry. People that are hungry, come on in for sure. And I love that you're training too. That's awesome. That's cool.
Yeah, and a lot of people think that I'm a little crazy for wanting to be like a ring announcer, but I'm still learning to take bumps. I think it gives me some
Well,
street cred at least, but
it
um,
does. That's a good
it
spot. I'll tell you. A guy could run out there, shut you up, give you a bump. It's a great spot.
right,
I don't know.
right. It's I think it makes you more versatile. It also makes it, like I just said, that entire my entire perspective changed once I started actually learning this stuff, right? And understanding more of what it goes into. And I'm not here to toot my own horn, guys. I'm not super I literally have only done like a couple of weeks here. So I'm just saying that I've seen people who have been in this business 5, 6, 7 years, and they're still showing up every day to train. They're,
Yeah,
they
yeah,
and we have some of the best damn people that have ever come through that school in the universe, and they come back every once in a while to hit those ropes one more time,
yeah.
um,
You have to. You got to stay in ring shape. I mean,
right,
that's why we have, the free ring time. Like, um, whether they went through our camp or not, if they're local and they're a worker, come on down. Like, everybody needs to stay in not only ring shape, which is such a real thing, but you don't want to get rusty if you're going to perform. If you're having a lagging time in between performances, highly recommend getting back in that ring before you show
right,
up.
right.
Like,
And it's a testimony to you for saying that, because for me, it shows how much you really care about the business, right? That you wouldn't want someone, regardless of who they are, how much money they've given you, right? to be putting out bad product, because
Right.
bad product honestly hurts every single one of us.
It
If
does.
someone's
Yeah.
if someone's putting their name and their stamp on a guy saying, "Oh, he's ready because he passed a course," and sending him out in the world and he's not ready and he gets smudged, guess what?
Right.
That shit's gonna be on the internet. It's gonna
Yep.
blow up all over. It's gonna because let's be honest, as wrestling fans especially, people are wanting us to fail. They're begging. They're begging for us to fail. They're begging
Mhm.
for bad things to happen or whatever, so they can be like, "I told you it was fake."
Right.
It's like, come
Yeah.
on, we
I
got.
mean, sorry, go ahead.
No, I was gonna say we really got to try to look out for each other because no one else is gonna do it, man.
Oh, we do, we do. And that's the thing. Like I said, if I'm putting the company name on these guys, they definitely have to be able to work. And one thing we talk about, of course, during training is not doing something you're not comfortable with, because, as you said, our bodies are on the line. Safety is number one. You have to have a dance partner that's willing to work. If they want to do a bunch of crazy shit that you ain't never done before, slow it down, say, hey, we could try this, but don't do anything you're not comfortable with, and don't set up any spots that you're not familiar with. So, it's one of those things where it's like, yeah, you can go out and get booked, and I will certainly help you do that when you're ready. And the thing is like, we're not doing a bunch of crazy stuff though. We're doing the basics. We're doing the fundamentals. We're training you what the performance center and flat bats is doing. From there, everything else, as far as moves, flashy things, you can come and learn in the free time and the free ring time. But as far as during the course, we make sure that your timing and your footwork and like I said, all the fundamentals, man. Like, you got to be able to not sandbag somebody, and like, ring awareness and so many different things, and then our conditioning drills, and which is the same as performance center. So, like I said, I don't want to see anybody get hurt. I have seen it. I've seen someone get hurt really bad in California. It's traumatizing. It's oof, emotional. Sorry. But yeah, it's we're big on safety. And
Right.
so, what we do is not ballet, man. I don't know.
No. No, it's just
So
not. It's really not. And if anybody thinks they literally just don't know what they're talking about.
yeah,
They don't. They have no clue. I've said it 1,000 times. Most American males, you could probably have played baseball or football or, hockey or something, but most of them have never gotten in the ring and ran around a little bit. So,
right,
you really don't know what you're talking about, man. If you think this stuff is just super easy, if you think it's super easy, you play too many video games. You
right.
need to just get out of here. You're gonna get us all killed. And to
Yeah,
another extent, what you were saying, it was like, if after 12 weeks, you probably shouldn't be aiming for like 5-star shooting frog splashes and shooting star presses and stuff like that. Frankensteiners, you should probably that's a little advanced, guys, and like I said, I
exactly.
know plenty of people who have been in the business for 5, 6, 7 years, and they still are training because there's
Yeah.
always things you could be learning, or I mean, just
Hmm.
because you know something one way and you've done it one way forever, doesn't mean that's
Hmm.
the only way to do it, right?
Yeah.
There's other
We
ways.
For sure, man. We got a guy. He performs as Sid Wolf, SYDWOLFE. Anyway, he's from Kansas. Great guy. Just started with us. Um, Sid, being from Kansas, it's a totally different flavor. So when we're going through the camp, it's like, oh, sometimes he'll be like, oh, okay, well, I learned it this way. And I'm like, show me, let's see it. Because why would I not want to know another way to do something? Like, holy cow,
Exactly.
that's great. We all learn from each other every day. We could say something that we're going to pick up. Like, when you're in that ring and you're with that brotherhood, you're constantly learning, whether you even realize it or not. I pick up things constantly just training people. Like, it's amazing, dude. It really is. Like, you never stop learning, so the camp is designed to get somebody from A, not to Z, because you'll never get to Z, right? You're always going to learn.
Right.
So it's A to, okay, you can work a match safely. This is your move set. You know, copy and paste kind of, this is what the performance center wants, boom, boom, boom. And then from there, they know how to market themselves, get everything they need. Like I said, I already went through the whole list of stuff that we try and do for everybody. But if they're a full character and it's like, okay, I'll help you out, let's get going. And like I said, Cody Dreamheart is my first guy. Love him to death. He's going to do some great things. So, everybody look him up too.
Yeah, definitely. Look up Cody. He's a great guy. It's funny you mentioned the match because he was telling me about the match on the 16th, right? Yeah,
Yeah. Yeah.
he was telling me about it because we were trying to set up a time where he could come on the podcast. And he's like, "Oh, well, I got a match on
Cool.
the 16th, but I got this and that, and we'll make it happen," and yada yada yada. So he's definitely coming up on the podcast for sure. But yeah,
Right on.
definitely a great guy. Everybody make sure to follow both. Yeah, all of the stuff because I love it, man. And it was certainly a great experience talking to you guys in Vegas. So you guys had a lot of stuff at your booth too. I feel like there was just so much
We
stuff.
did, yeah. Well, and that's the thing, so we had autographed pictures, we had 3 or 4 different kinds of shirts, all different sizes. We had Cody had keychains and so when you go through the camp, you're learning a lot of extra stuff that I try and incorporate. I went to college for marketing, went through a lot of acting classes and so on and so forth. And that little stuff really kind of helps because I throw that in there at different times. And so, if you can market yourself, it really means a lot. Like we went
Right.
there to say, hey, here we are, to very prominent people. And I would recommend that to anybody. So, I try and stay on the up and up with that. Everywhere that we go, we, I don't know if you remember, but, we didn't have suits on, but we had, the slacks and the Cody Rhodes style. We had the vest. I had the pocket watch. Like we roll that in every wrestling scenario. And sometimes just on the daily going to Walmart because that's who we are. We mean this shit. Like this is our passion. This is our business. We take it very seriously and we try to be as professional as possible. And so that's what you're going to get. When you get our guys, we're going to be dressed up nice. We're going to shake your hand, look you straight in the eye. And we just want to work, baby. So we have a
Right.
ride.
You got to put the professional in it, right?
Yeah.
Be a wrestler, but it's better to be a professional wrestler. Boom.
Yeah. Right.
So
There you
many
go.
people forget that one, right?
Yeah.
Otherwise, what
Yeah.
are
I
you,
like
just
it.
a backyard wrestler?
Right.
Mm,
Yeah, you don't
mm.
want to show up in jorts and a bandana and be like, "This is my gimmick." I mean, maybe, but let's get some gear. Let's I don't know, man. There's a lot of things that I like my guys to do. So sure.
Right. No, I mean, it sounds like you have a very comprehensive, it would be very shocking for someone to come out of your training camp and they come back in like t-shirt and jorts. That would just be,
Yeah, I mean
like, yeah. No,
I
so,
would definitely not be okay with that at all. It's and especially when we're helping them get their stuff, And honestly, I personally wouldn't even help get them booked until they had their gear. And like I said, like they got to
right.
be ready. They got to be fully ready. And we can help them get there. That's why I'm here. That's what we're doing. Aside from working matches, and then putting on shows, it's kind of the triangle, right? The promoter, the wrestler, and the trainer. I try to do it all. That's why I'm extremely busy. You know, doing these 18-hour days. Like, oh yeah, but it's great. I love it. I'm privileged, blessed. This is amazing. So yeah, just doing good,
Right.
man. Doing good.
And it's I I really feel like promoters especially just don't get the due, right? So many people just will shit all over a promoter because of a storyline they didn't like, but they didn't
I know.
especially at the level you're doing it. Most people don't realize how hard it is just to like book a place to be. Like
Mhm.
the
Yeah.
time and effort it goes in just to get someone to be like, "Yeah, you can put a wrestling ring in that room." You know what I mean?
Right.
Like,
Yep.
people have no freaking clue how difficult it could be just to make sure you get a building that can meet the expectations necessary and even, like, have the appropriate parking or whatever. You're not
Mhm.
gonna like, all the stuff that goes into
Yeah.
just finding a
Permits.
proper venue. Like,
Right.
that's
Permits and
bananas
fees
enough.
and fire code and like where's the access and does an ambulance need to be here? Running in the 3 different states. all the research we've done, they're kind of very different. As far as like having a promoter's license or like all the extra stuff that comes with that, running wrestling. If there's like a wrestling boxing commission, then there's all this extra stuff you got to do. And so,
Right.
there's a lot of legal stuff and there's a lot of safety stuff, and it's all good. It's all great. It just takes a lot of time, a lot of research, and then, you know, being lucky enough to actually have a lawyer friend of mine do a lot of it. I have a big support system, let's put it that way, honestly, like, and then, from the promoter, you're going from editing shows, on your CapCut to, making the calls and submitting the meetings and going and looking at these places. And it's just there's a lot to it. So we do have a new partner that we're tag teaming with. It's gonna be awesome. So he knows the right people. He gets the right discounts. Like he's been around a while. So we kind of we're gonna have a good support system, and I don't know, man. It's gonna be great. So the more we get bigger, I can eventually delegate some of this out. But right now, I'm kind of doing it all as much as I can.
Right. Right. Yeah, because you got to be able to trust them before you delegate. That's for sure.
Yeah,
And you got to
and then
you got to
nobody's
make
gonna
sure.
do it. Nobody's gonna
Right.
do it the way I want it exactly because it's not me. You
Exactly.
know,
Exactly.
I was yeah, I was talking about this yesterday on a podcast thing where we're doing with Made Fight League out of Vegas, MFL. The runner, guy that runs the place, Trap Daddy, really cool guy. But we're gonna do some stuff together, and we were saying the same things, like commenting back and forth about you're having somebody do something, which is great. I love it, but it's like, man, I wouldn't have done it that way, and it happens almost every time. It's like, what are you gonna do? Not everybody can read your mind. That's all right. You know, but
Right. And that's anything, right? That could be anything from your kids not putting away the dishes when you wanted them to
right. No, well, that happens
e
all the time. I go and correct
exactly,
that every
right?
time.
So there's whether it's the smallest things in life or the biggest things, it's really hard to set forth expectation knowing that, well, guess what? They're a different person. That's it.
Yeah.
Like you didn't
Yeah.
unless you're gonna clone yourself magically and like put 12 views out there, you're
Right.
gonna have to have a little bit of leeway and time with those people. So
Yeah, for
and it
sure. For sure.
just takes that trust and respect, right? To like, listen,
Yep.
this is what I want.
Yeah. Right.
I always go there just because I've been a dad for 24 years, so my brain
Yeah.
I'm always in dad mode. To be fair, like it doesn't,
Yeah.
like it,
That's cool. Yeah.
it's hard to turn it
Yeah.
off. It's really hard
Well,
to.
sometimes, like I'll be honest, so before I got into wrestling, like I said, I was in Oregon for about 35 years on the Oregon coast. And all the jobs and careers I ended up into, I ended up being a manager of some sort. And it kind of comes down to, and this is going to sound really negative, but it kind of comes down to babysitting a little bit, like learning people and knowing kind of how to navigate that. And then when they come to you with their problems or, you know, uh, interpersonal problems, well, she said this about me, and you're kind of babysitting. And, luckily I don't have that problem with Rise and Create, but, I've had all that manager experience. And so, it kind of flows over into the business where, I think I'm all right with talking to people and doing positive stuff. And, like I'll give you an example, like in the ring, training in the ring, I've been around some people, I'm not gonna name names, where it was like drill instructor, like yet screaming in their face, cussing at them, calling them every kind of derogatory thing. And they're running out crying like these 300-pound men that can't take it. And I'm like, man, I wouldn't talk to anybody that way. And so at our place, like, I'm not going to allow you to do something wrong, but I'm going to say, okay, that was better, but hey, you know what? Let's do it this way. Or, okay, kind of the same as last time, but let's do, I'm going to be honest, but I'm not going to be a dick about it. That doesn't do
Right.
any good. Nobody's going to get better
No.
if you're screaming in their face, calling them negative things. They're going to think, oh, I am that thing. It's psychological, man. So with all my experience throughout that time and dealing with people, which I do love it in a lot of ways, it's just psychologically being able to get somebody to where you need them to be to build them up and strengthen somebody. Like, wouldn't you rather do that? Like, it just confuses me when people train in a, because then it's in your mind. You're like, oh, I better not F up. You're going to. So,
Yeah.
but
Y-
if I'm
y-
like, hey, not that wasn't bad, but you know what? Let's just try this thing. I bet you'll, then they're going to be like, oh, okay, cool, I got this. So,
Right, most people don't understand that, right? It's funny, I was actually watching a YouTube video about a bunch of there's a seems to be a wave of men who are paying like 15 to $20,000 to go to these like wannabe military camps. So these people
Oh,
are paying
okay.
like $15,000 to go to
Wow.
like a training camp for like 2 weeks. And it's just some of the most ridiculous nonsense where people are just like in their face screaming, blah, 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 blah. Like what you would see on TV of like a army drill sergeant or something. But like, I
Yeah,
could tell you
yeah.
from experience, there were a couple of drill sergeants like that. But for the
Mm,
majority point, whether it's in the army or the training I'm doing now, if they are unhappy, they're giving you they're a good trainer, they're giving you constructive criticisms, okay?
yeah,
They're
yeah.
like or maybe they're and if you're not like I've noticed it with my and he's one of my trainers. He will sit there and be like, "Do this." And then I'll be like, let's say I mess it up.
Mhm.
And he'll be like, "No, no, no, do it like that." And then let's say I mess it up 3 times. He'll stop everything and be like, "Pause for a second." He like, "Why did I tell you to do this?" And I'll be like, "I have no idea." And then he'll
Mhm.
explain like, "The reason why I'm telling you to do this is because when you do it this way, this is the result you'll get." And then I'll
Right.
be like, "Oh, okay. It makes
Yeah,
more sense now. Now I see you're telling me to do this thing. I didn't understand the movement of it, but now that I understand what you're looking for, I'm able to do that movement so much easier." So
yeah. If you
I
understand
love
the
that.
full picture, yeah, yeah.
Yeah, exactly. Because sometimes they could just be like, "Do this thing," right?
Mm.
Do the 5 by 5s, right? Simple enough. Whip, reverse, whip, reverse, whip, reverse all day. But every once in a while, they'll throw in a thing, and I just be like, "I don't understand what you're trying to tell me right now. My brain's not
Right.
comprehending this," right? And they'll be
Yeah.
like, "All right, that's cool. Hold on, time out for a second. Let me explain why you should be doing this, and
Mhm.
then maybe you'll get it." And I'm like, "Oh, you're right. Now I do. Now that I see what we're aiming for,
Yeah,
I can go there, right?" And that's
yeah.
I'm not people are like, "Oh, you're giving away secrets." No, that's just like general common sense to like if you want people to understand what we're trying to do, you might want to explain it, right?
Oh,
There's
yeah, for
no
sure.
there's no that's no magical secret of anything. If you're a trainer and you don't
Mhm.
explain why you don't explain why you're doing something to the person you're training, don't be surprised if they never get what you want.
Right, right. Yeah. It's
You didn't
kinda funny
explain it.
because yeah, yeah. It's kinda funny. Sometimes I'll explain something and then I'll accidentally throw in there, "Oh, by the way, don't do it this way." And only because 'cause I've seen, like, the alternative, like, "Oh, don't
Right,
do it this way." A lot of people do that. But then I realize I'm putting that in their mind, whereas maybe they wouldn't have never thought about it before. And they're remembering saying, "Don't do it this way," but they're also remembering the way I'm telling them not to do it. So it's like, do
right,
I even mention what not to do? So sometimes it's like,
right,
okay, hey, I'm still learning how to teach too at some point. It's like, okay, go this way, don't go this way. And then it's like, well, why? And it's like, perfect. I love to explain, like you just said. I'll tell you why, like because this way does this, and then that way we can do that. And
exactly.
so yeah, full picture is pretty important. But yeah, man, and everybody learns differently. Everybody learns sometimes at a different pace. So, when you have a class that's really smooth and everybody gets it down pretty quick, that's easy. But generally, you're going to have, one or two that need a little extra work, and that's fine. And we just
Right.
keep everybody together and doing the same thing and repetition, repetition. And so,
And
yeah.
there are so many different subjects, right? Maybe someone's really good at running the ropes, but they
Mm,
suck at taking bumps. Or maybe they're
yeah,
great at taking bumps and they can run the ropes, but they couldn't cut a promo to save their life. You know what I
sure.
mean?
Yeah,
Yep.
there
Like
are so
there's
many different areas. Yeah.
so many different areas that you have to go into. Because like me, I'm not the best at bump taking, but when we had to
Mm,
do promo class the other day, I was the first one up there going, "Let's do this," because I'm used to talking
mm,
in front of people, so I could
right.
structure it better than someone else. Am I the greatest that's ever lived? Obviously not. My name's not Stone Cold Steve Austin, but the point is
Right.
that, you know, if it was my first time doing it and I did pretty okay, you know what I mean? It was a
Yeah.
passable promo because I talk for a living, you know what I mean?
Right. Yeah. That's
So
awesome.
it makes
That's really cool.
sense.
Yeah. But
Makes
you're
sense.
totally right. There's going to be people that lag in usually some way or another, and
Right.
everybody has their spots where they're not quite getting it, and that's fine. It's like, hey, we'll get her down. It's all good. Don't stress about
Right.
it. Don't want to
And
beat yourself up over it.
exactly. And you go back and let's be honest, you go back to like the 90s and watch some like any product. Let's be honest, there are some people who were on the big shows and they were not the best at certain
Right.
things. Like I
Yeah.
remember, you know, there were guys like Vampiro, great in the ring, but you get them in front of a camera for too long, they're like, so things are like things and things they're a thing. Like you're like, where is this guy going? Lex
Right.
Lex Luger, one of the total package. He's a Hall of Famer, etc. But there are a couple times where he just wandered off into the nothingness, and you're like, what is he even talking about anymore? So,
Right.
you know, there's
Yeah, I
plenty
hear
of
you.
times where you can and you could go on the other side. People are like, oh, he's dumping on WCW. Fine. WWF, fine. Sure, I'm sure you could go back and watch. I mean, Dr. Death, Steve Williams, he could murder you in the ring, but he wasn't known for his
Yeah.
talking ability. You know what I mean? Like, he didn't
Well,
need
I'll
it
tell
because
you.
he would choke you out. You know what I mean?
Right. And that's the thing. You play to your strengths and try
Exactly.
to maybe hide those weaknesses. And so if you have a weakness of some kind, maybe you can work around that and play to those strengths. So, if like for example, you're a promo guy or you got a great look, okay, well let's lean into that, and we can work on this other stuff, but maybe really lean into that as well. You know, um, some guys could be on TV and make a great living for just talking, cutting promos. Maybe they look great, whatever the case, right? And there's always going to be some sort of, like you said, subject where maybe they're not the best, maybe they don't sell properly, maybe they don't, they're slow, whatever. But,
Right.
most people don't have the total package of everything, but that's all right, As long as our guards are safe and they get what we're trying to do and they can
Yeah,
come up with their own matches, provide the structure, understand the what, why, when, and where, from there, sky's the limit, for real.
exactly. And especially with the fact that he just retired, my brain goes back to somebody like Brock Lesnar, right? When he first started, he had all the athleticism in the world, but he couldn't be on the microphone. If it wasn't
Right.
for Paul Heyman being his voice for so long, he
Yeah.
not to say he wouldn't have got to the where he did because he had the athleticism once again, but it made it like he didn't even have to worry about cutting a promo. He just went out there and was a monster. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like
Yeah. I
so
miss that.
yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I
no,
do.
it's
We do wrestling manager and referee training. I didn't say that earlier, but with the managers, I miss that old '80s '90s style. Like I said, that's kind of where I'm
right.
from as a kid. And so I like to bring a lot of that back, man. I like some of that old school stuff. So
Oh, I
we
would
do a
love
lot of that, and I incorporate it in my matches quite a bit. And so I love that classic stuff. And a good manager can really provide and cover up those areas, for a promo. You got a big guy with a great look. I always think immediately like it's okay if you can't talk. We'll stick him with so and so, like he can talk more and he'll be over as hell, like that's fine.
Right,
That's why they're there, that's why we have
right.
managers, right? It's too bad we don't have that many in the business on mainstream TV anymore.
It's
Paul Heyman is amazing, maybe even the greatest there is right now. So yeah,
right. Yeah, no, in New England, we have a guy named Sidney Bacabella. Now, he can wrestle as well, but he does a lot of the managerial stuff for Um, shockingly, some of the most talented people who could do any talking for themselves, but really Anthony Green, Channing Thomas, Donovan Dijak, he's like their manager as well. And he
gotcha.
can go in the ring, but like I say, I always tell him he's my spirit animal because I I feel like and honestly, I never thought about myself in that role despite being I wouldn't necessarily say I'm a Jim Cornette guy where I believe everything he says, but I do love his style, right?
Yeah,
So,
yeah,
um, and also a big fan of old school managers, but when I started doing the podcast, there are times where I'll do like special introductions for certain people, especially if I know them and I've watched their stuff for long enough. I'll do a special introduction. And I did one for Dijak when he was on the podcast. The first one I really did was for Shannon Levangie, who's my daughter's favorite wrestler of all time. And
mm,
my
cool.
daughter literally makes like 3 or 4 edits about Shannon, like, every day. It's out of control. But
That's great.
I did I did a great introduction for Shannon, and Shannon said that it was the best introduction she ever had, and ever since, my daughter's like, "You should be Shannon's manager. You should be Shannon's manager." And at
Right.
first, I was like, "I don't know about that." And then, like, after a while, I was just like and I did some of the other introductions on the podcast, and I was like, "Actually, you know what? I think my daughter has a point. I think I'd probably do."
Yeah.
I'm 40 years old trying to get into the business.
Yeah.
Bumps are probably not where it's gonna be at for me. So, maybe using the voice for the younger kids who don't always wanna be on the microphone, right?
Mhm.
Maybe that's a great plan. Maybe I could be the manager, right?
Yeah,
Not to
for
say
real.
that someone like Shannon couldn't talk for herself because she does it anyways, but I'm sure there's
Mhm.
somebody out there who's like, "Dude, I love wrestling, but I fucking hate talking." And I'm like,
Oh,
"Well,
yeah.
I can only take, like, 5 bumps, but you can't shut me up. We could be best friends." You know what I mean? Like, it'd
Right.
be great.
Yeah, I no, I do, I meet wrestlers quite often that, are still really nervous and, afraid of the old promo, which is fine. Like I said, that's why we're trying to cultivate some manager talent and, spread around the area, and we've got, I guess 2 guys now training for that and, starting next week. But, yeah, man, it's gonna be great. Hopefully we can get that going, and like I said, I really love that, and it's not even so much an old school style because you look at somebody like a Paul Heyman, he's doing it right now,
Right.
and I don't know, sticking a manager with somebody. He used to be kind of a go-to in the '90s, early '90s for like
Yeah.
WWE, and there's a bunch of managers, like 4 or 5, and all the heels had a manager. Like, you don't need to do that, but yeah, certainly anybody that might not be as good as the manager. We got a good manager. We're gonna get over it.
Right, right, right. So, I feel and honestly, the idea of, like, going really heel on someone, like, just sounds exciting.
Oh, it's great.
Just ham it up, and I won't even take the low-hanging fruit. Like, I know there's some real
Yeah.
low-hanging fruit, you could be like, "In this scumbag town," like, you could go really
Hmm.
low-hanging fruit. I won't even but I really wanna be I mean, maybe once in a while I'll be like, "You scumbags, you should be worshiping the ground this woman walks on," or something, but
Right. Right.
I feel like it would just be so almost therapeutic in a way to just be like, all the bad energy I have in my life from people being idiots to me, I'm just gonna take it out on this crowd today and
There
just
you
let
go.
them
Yeah.
pulverize me on the internet because they hate
Yeah.
me so much.
Yeah.
And
It's a
it'll be
great thing, and
wonderful, right?
yeah,
It'd
it
just be
is. It's a
wonderful.
great thing. Yeah, for real.
So,
Yeah, it's a
shoot,
great
man, maybe I'm
experience.
signing up for your manager course one of these days, bro. That
There
sounds
you
good to
go.
me.
Come on down. Yeah, come on in, man. We'd
Um,
love to have you.
right, but I I definitely feel like there's a lot more on the independent circuit. And maybe you could obviously you would be better at answering this question than I would be at just stating it, but there's got to be so much more in my mind at least for let's say 2026 for a professional wrestler, especially, an independent wrestler, as opposed to someone in 1986, right?
Oh yeah.
Because there was no social media back then, and now you basically have to have like a PR campaign to keep up on all this stuff. And do you guys go into that at all? Like,
Yeah. Yeah, like I said, I'm big on marketing and trying to come up with something hopefully every day. And like I said, it's hard. I'm pretty busy, so I don't always get to post something every day, especially on either my personal STD account or the Rise and Create account, Facebook, Instagram, so on. And pretty soon I'm gonna have some help with that. I'm gonna have somebody make me a TikTok and so on. But there's so many things to post on, and there's so much marketing, and then there's the website, and but I'm big on teaching our guys to get yourself out there, to be shown the right way, how to market yourself, how to not do it. Make sure you don't have anything out there that's weird. Like don't be posting things that are gonna get you canceled. You know what I'm saying? And
mm,
so be careful. Um, and just it's part of that whole image change. Like when you're showing up dressed nice, and you're shaking everybody's hand, and you're promoting yourself all the time, the bigger companies love to see that. That's it's something, of course, they can do for you. The old machine, as they call it. But if you're doing it for yourself, let's put it this way: if you don't, nobody can see you if you don't put anything out there, and I don't know. Like I said, I'm big on that. But
Yeah, no, I couldn't agree with you more though. Like, I mean, just being in the limited time space that I've been with this, I mean, I have my channel where I put out my edits. My daughter does the photography. It's been about a year with podcasts, etc. And just being in that particular space for this amount of time, even myself, like let's say the last couple of years in WrestleCons, etc., just talking with other you know, professionals in the space, it's just a completely different, like, it's not the same way you would if you were a fan, right? Where you're just
right,
trying to like,
right,
maybe you're trying to get a free autograph or a free whatever, and it's like, no, networking is huge these days,
yeah,
especially because you never know who could be booking you if for something somewhere somehow. And they always make the old joke about like a hot dog and a handshake, but
yep, true. Sometimes,
sometimes
I
it's
mean,
true.
you got to know your
Sometimes it's
worth though,
true.
at the same time. But
Exactly.
yeah, that networking is huge. We met a lot of promoters, a lot of them back east, and got their business cards and talked to them for a while. And if we got some guys that can go on a tour, like, hey, let's do it. Like, I don't know, man, anything's possible. You know,
Right. Because I know a couple of guys that are mostly here out here in the New England area, but they'll travel in Texas and Nevada, all kinds of
Mm.
spots because exposure is exposure, and maybe they're
It
gonna
is.
be wrestling with different people than they normally wouldn't wrestle with, or you never know. Like you talked about Gabe and
Yeah, yeah,
Sapolsky's here a lot too. We have the Wrestling Open, and he's there quite often. They have a
yeah.
lot of like
It,
WWE ID matches there. They crown the
right,
new WWE ID Women's Champion at the Open. So it's like you just never know where someone like that's gonna be. So if you could
yeah,
go to a place down south and he's there, and you can go to a place up north and he's there, you can go to a place out west and he's there, and he's gonna be like, dude, this guy's in every room. This guy's in. Maybe I
right,
should be mentioning this guy, right? All of a
exactly.
sudden,
Yeah,
all of a sudden, you're
yeah,
showing up in, you're in Seattle and you're in Boston and you're in Arizona and you're in Florida, and Gabe's in the room with
mm,
you all four times. Going to be like, who the hell is this kid? What is he? Why is he following me around? What's going on? Is he something special? Maybe I'm going to give him a second look. It's not a
yeah.
horrible idea. That's all I'm saying.
No, it's not. I got a lot of little tips and tricks from him, a lot of do's and don'ts. A couple days I spent with him, and and the mandates will change. Like, I think when I first talked to him, Vince was still in charge. They were looking for guys at the time that were like 6'4", 240, and under 24 years old. So I like X'd me out immediately, right? I'm like 6'1", 243. And so then when I talked to him the next year, I was able to see him in Florida a year later, and things have changed. And he said literally they were looking at anybody that has talent. It doesn't matter where they come from, doesn't matter what they look like. If they're over, if they can, do the fundamentals, if they're, safe, if they're, so they're looking for somebody that they can take and make money with, and they're not limiting themselves by saying, oh, he's got to be 6'4", 240, or bodybuilder, like 90s or over, right? And so
Right. Right.
the look thing wasn't that important anymore, but and it's still important to a sense, but um it was really cool talking to him the second time, because it was like, okay, anything's possible here. I know guys that were like 46 getting tryouts and stuff, and so you just never know, and you got to keep your options open. I always tell my guys, look, you got to believe in yourself. If you don't, ain't nobody going to. And that's almost an energy you can feel off somebody when you walk in the room. Like, of course, there's a fine line between arrogance and, believing in yourself and being cocky and arrogant. But anyway, as long as you can believe in yourself, like, and if you don't, you got to be able to get there, because you don't want to go out there and stink out the joint, or think you're going to, because then you're going to. It's just a psychological
Right.
thing. Like, man, if you believe you're the best in the world and you're delusional, be delusional. Who cares? Enjoy that ride. Like, hell, I'm the best in the world, whatever. If you actually believe it, good for you. Who cares what anybody thinks, right? Uh, but yeah, you got to believe in yourself. So definitely have some confidence with all this. And, because if you think that, I remember one time I heard an interview with Rob Van Dam, and RVD was saying he was backstage one time and CM Punk was, walking by and saying, "Hey, Rob, we're going to have a meeting here in a little bit." And he walked away, and Rob was like, "Well, who made him the locker room leader, And at first he's like, "I can't believe this guy. Like, he really thinks he's," and then he thought, wait a minute, maybe he is the best in the world. Because, like if you believe it and you show it and that's how you live, that's your lifestyle, you're gonna convince people almost by accident, like, well, he probably is better than, and then all of a sudden it's just perception is reality. Things can change like that. And so, you gotta keep on with it, for real.
Yeah, perception is reality. And like I've been a true proponent of the idea of fake it till you make it, man.
Exactly.
You may not actually be that damn good, but if you at least have the confidence when you walk in a
Yeah.
room, um it's funny at my shoot job, I should say. I
Yeah.
had to do like a speech in front of people, and they gave me this like weird topic at the last minute, and they told me to deliver it one way. So I delivered it exactly the way the it was the opposite way if I wanted to. I wanted to deliver the speech in a way where it was comprehensive, explaining the beginning and the end. And they're like, no. Just explain what we did. And I was like, okay. Sure enough, I did it. And then everybody and their mom wanted to know we're at the beginning of the story. Well, where did we start from? And I was like, God, knew I should have just delivered it my way. I was like, okay. So I
Yeah,
just sat
yeah.
there for like 10 minutes answering stupid questions. Like, yeah, no, that's not it. Blah, 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 you know what I mean? Trying to be whatever. And then the funny thing is I ended up like, um, getting like a recognition and like a spot award, and they gave me $300 because
Oh, wow.
they loved the speech so much. And to me, it
No,
was
that's
like
cool.
the most nonchalant conversation to have in front of 150 people. But it's
Hmm.
like, I guess maybe the idea of you get in a ring and you do something else, that like having a regular just like explanation was just like, you know what I mean? Like, there's not
Yeah,
even a comparison. I guess for the regular person, an average person who's like nervous to get up in front of their coworkers, they'd
yeah,
be
it would
like,
be a
"Oh
big
God, I can't believe
yeah,
whatever." I'm
yeah,
like,
it would be.
it would be nervous. I'm like, yeah, it's not a big deal,
Yeah,
guys. Like, you're not a paying crowd. You guys have to be here. It doesn't matter how good or bad I am. You have to be here. So, but
right,
it was just
right.
funny of all the speeches in all the world. Not only was I supposedly so good at it, and I was like, I don't understand. I just said what you guys told me to say. Which
That's
was
cool,
the
man. That's
which was
good though.
funny because everyone after me, I felt like everybody after me, they're like, "Oh, we should tell people the whole story." So everybody else delivered it where they started from the front and then they went and they told the whole story. And I
Hmm.
was like, I was so mad the rest of the day. I was like, I should have said it like that. I knew I should have done it. But I'm the guy who got the award, so I should shut my mouth, I guess. I don't know. It's kind of funny how
Well,
that
I
works,
mean,
but
at least you could have really hit it out of the park, right? If you would have done it your way.
yeah.
That's cool. Yeah,
Yeah.
that's good
If I
though.
did it my
That's
way,
awesome.
it would have that would have been like, man, this guy's confident. He said everything we wanted to hear. We have no questions. Have a nice day. Sit down.
Right?
They would have. To be fair, they bought me
Yeah.
dinner anyway, so it doesn't matter.
Oh, that's cool. Yeah, that's cool. That's
Right.
good, man.
Um. Phew, yeah. See, it popped up that we've been talking for a minute, an hour 35, and I was like, it feels like it's been like 10 minutes or something. That's wild.
Yeah, it doesn't feel that long, does it?
Um. So it sounds like you guys, it's funny because I always love when a guest does that, where I have all these questions written down and then they just explain everything, because then it makes me feel like, oh, I knew where this conversation should have went anyways, right? It makes me
Right.
feel so you actually hit like 10 or 15 of my questions right off the bat just by explaining all the different stuff and saying all the stuff. And just want to point that out, that I love the fact that you were so prepared to go through all that stuff, to be quite frank with
Oh,
you.
thank you.
I genuinely love it. And then the idea of reciprocal energy, like, hey man, this guy he's doing your job for you. You don't have to do anything. Well, thanks again.
That's awesome, man. No, I
so
appreciate it. That's
so
cool.
I mean, it sounds like 2026 is gonna be great. It definitely sounds like I need to come back and, like, check out the spot. I've been honestly trying to, make up a good excuse why I should go back to Phoenix for something, so this
Yeah,
sounds like it
for
could be
real.
the one, man.
Yeah,
Um,
I mean, we're like right on the border, like I said, of Nevada, which Laughlin, Nevada is right there. It's right across the bridge.
yeah,
So
it's a
Laughlin's
nice
like
city.
little Vegas. You could come have a good
Yeah.
time. There's casinos and all kinds of things to
We
do. Come spend a weekend. Come by and check us out, man. Do a
Right.
manager class for me or something. That'd be great.
Yeah. We used to back when I lived in Phoenix, we made the joke that Laughlin was like was like Vegas for the retirees. That's what we said.
Yeah, yeah, pretty much. Yep.
It's Vegas, but for the people who are on a budget because they have Social Security, right?
Yeah, yeah. They're there for the free buffet. And, yeah,
Right.
yeah.
The free drinks.
The senior
Oh
discount.
man. Back then they could yeah, the exact
Military.
that's exactly what I was gonna say. Back then
Yeah,
they got the
yeah,
biggest senior discount and they were gonna be able to smoke in the still smoke there because for the longest
yeah,
time they got rid of it in certain places, but Laughlin still had it. So
yeah,
oh, that's hilarious. Some
yeah.
things
That's
never
great.
change, my friends. Some things
Yeah,
never change. I can't say that I'm proud to have a daughter who's like looks at gambling as like the devil. She's just like, yeah, I should never do that, and I'm like, good idea. Just stay
yeah.
away.
Right.
Don't do
That's
it. Just
cool.
don't.
That's good.
If you never start, you'll never have to get off the horse. You know what I mean?
Hey, that's true. That's true. Good point.
So maybe I should ask this question before we wrap up. Are there any other students, any other things that we should plug here? Like I want to make sure you get your time to plug your people. I know we plugged Cody. We've
Yeah, no, I appreciate it, man. Like I said, we started in December, and really was able to figure out exactly what we wanted to do. And so we started the first camp with Cody. I guess it was late December, and so he went through the 12-week camp. And then, I mean, honestly, dude, he's amazing. He's my assistant coach. So every night he's there, working or not. Like I said, you should always, keep in the ring, right? So he's there with us 3 nights a week. I'm there. I'm doing the same drills with everybody. Even though I'm the instructor, I'm in there with them doing them. I need to stay in ring shape. And so, Cody went through, and then now he's out working matches. And then, like I said, we got Sid Wolf who just came in. He's going to start working matches too. Even though he's actively going through the camp, he was an active wrestler over in Kansas and I guess
right.
Missouri, I think. Um, and like I said, we've had people pop in and out. But as far as my guys that are ready, look up the Golden Standard Cody Dreamheart. And then, like I said, we got some guys that are just starting right now. So, you know, we kind of went through that little loop where I think there was maybe a month or two we didn't have anybody, and that's because we're brand new. But now we've got 4 or 5 people. So, um, yeah, man, I'm just really looking forward to everything. Like I said, it's Rise and Create, RIZENCR, the number 8 .com. Also on the socials, it's at Rise and Create. You can find me on Instagram at STD_wrestling. Yeah, man, we're here to do it, man. 2026. I think it's going to be a great year for us for sure.
Right. And you know, you'll definitely have my support. All of those, for anybody wondering, they should be able to scroll to the bottom of the descriptions, whether you're on YouTube, Spotify, Apple Podcasts. I'm going to share those links so you'll be able to have them on there,
Thank you.
to make it
Thank you.
easier.
Cool.
Right, just to make it easier. It makes life easier. I try to put them in there, man. It just makes
Yeah, I
life easier.
appreciate it. Yeah, and
So,
we're also on Facebook, and so yeah, you'll find us around. Get the website. Easy,
right.
easy.
Up and coming, and it sounds like you're gonna start pumping out all kinds of creative talent.
Yeah,
And
I really think so.
yeah, no, it sounds fantastic. And maybe I'll be able to come stop by because that sounds even better, man. I could use some.
That'd be great.
And there's so many people. I talked to this about a couple people. They don't. It almost kind of blows their mind because so many people. I'm assuming it's because of the fact that when we talk about school, they're using their information, they're putting it in their mind, comparing it to like maybe high school or college or something. And if you went to one college, you would never dare to go to another college. But all of the like genuine professionals that I know went to multiple professional schools. Like they didn't
Yeah.
just, maybe they did a moral majority like of their opening training at school one, but
Yeah.
they would have done guest spots at a couple of different schools. All the professional wrestlers I know in New England are, yeah, they have one school and they consider that home, and maybe they spend 70% of their time, but they have one or two other schools that they go to on a regular. I'm not even talking promotions. I'm literally talking wrestling schools that they go to, and they put in reps because, once again, number one, you want to be seen everywhere you can be seen, because why not? How else are you going to get a
Hmm.
job? And
That's
number
right.
two, right? There are so many different people in different areas have different perspectives, and they have, maybe maybe I learned to be a manager from my school here, but then I go to you guys, you put some extra on the top. And
Yeah.
what's wrong with that? Like, but there's
Yeah.
no, it's not the same. Like, I think, and maybe you've
No.
seen it more than I have, but I feel like it almost blows the mind of like an average person or like a wrestling fan where they're like, they went to more than one school. It's like, yeah, of course they
Right.
did.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, I would recommend that, just check them out anyway and kind of get a feel for what it is that you want to do, and who you're around, if it's a great atmosphere or right person, right place, depends on where you live. I moved to go to the camps, California, Florida, whatever. I've been to different wrestling schools, especially in Vegas. I had to try them all out first. And I was
Right.
told, that was kind of a no-no, but everybody does that. And so it's kind of like,
Yeah,
okay.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
But, and then you land where you land. And all we are is a montage of everything we've ever seen and heard and learned. So, just like if you're a manager, you're going to pick up things from childhood, most likely on, and then what you're taught at maybe a school or a camp, but you're still going to have it your way, your own flavor, and like I said, I'm really big on being different. So if you're doing a hold in the ring the right way, but you're doing something very minor, but you make it yours, I'm really big on that. Like be a little different, do something a little different. It's not just character work. Could be something small like the look on your face, or I don't know, man. There's just so many little things that can really become a big thing if you add it into what you do as your person, as your character, in your career. Just little things, and we always learn from each other on the fly. Like I said, you just never stop learning. So yeah. I mean, there's a lot of places to start, but right now, I really firmly believe we have a great thing going, and our connections are pretty badass, man. I'm not gonna lie. Like, I'm doing this for a reason, Like, I
Right.
believe in it. I believe in what we're doing. I really do, and I'm blessed to be here. Whew, it's emotional for real.
No, I love it, man. And what you said is very similar to something I tell my kids all the time. When they're trying something new for the first time, maybe they're worried, maybe it's whatever, and I tell them like, listen, we humans are born without the inability to walk or talk or eat, right? We can't even eat without another human being holding us together for like 3
Yeah.
years at least. You know what I mean? Like,
Right.
so
Yep.
everything else, you it's a piece of cake. Like, I understand it might be scary or whatever, but like you literally couldn't even function as a standard human being until you were like 8 years old. You know what I mean?
Right.
Like,
Yeah.
so the idea of like trying something else that's big and scary and terrifying, just take a step back and be like, there was a time where you couldn't walk, all right? You couldn't talk
Right.
English, couldn't do anything, right? If I didn't feed you, you starved to death, for Christ's sake. Like, all
Right.
right, so you
Yeah.
survived that. You can survive playing a guitar or
Yeah.
playing. My daughter has a piano right here, and for the longest time, she was like, I don't know. And I'm like, you're pushing buttons on a plastic machine. You'll be fine. If you mess
That's
up,
so
no
funny.
one will die. No one
Right.
will get hurt. All you
Yeah.
might do is make a weird noise. Beep, boop, beep, boop. It's not a
Yeah.
big deal. She had the drum kit. She used to have the electric drums. She'd be like, do 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 do. She'd just be sitting there playing on them all day, just messing around, just making up noises and stuff, and just getting a feel for it and whatever. And I'm like, that's perfect, exactly. Because what? First of all, you have your headphones on. I can't really hear what you're playing, anyways. It's electric, thank God. But
Mhm.
number two is, we as human beings, all right. If you're fortunate to survive this crazy thing we called life, just do something that you're passionate about. Do something that you love. And yeah, it's terrifying. Yes, it's scary. Yes, you maybe want to throw yourself under the bus 47 more times. But realize that you're not alone. Everybody goes through those first steps.
Oh
Whatever
yeah.
it is.
100%, man. If anybody messes up, and especially if they're down on themselves, I'm like, look, this is training. This is practice. This is why we're here. Like, look around. Like, you're not supposed to do it good. Like, come on now. You're supposed to learn this. And to do that, it takes times, sometimes of failing or fumbling or not understanding or whatever the case may be. If somebody does it perfect the first time, it's like, oh, that wasn't any fun, like, come on. But yeah, you know, you don't want to get down on yourself, and everyone's going to survive. Like you said, it's all good. We're all, learning at different paces. And since you'll never stop learning, like, just relax, let it go, have a good time, enjoy it. If wrestling's your passion, please come in. Don't make any, don't be 100 years old and regret never doing it. Just, I
Right.
don't know, man. Now is the perfect time. And anybody that wants to do this, I want them to come in. And that's just the honest truth. So,
Right. Yeah, I've said it on the podcast 1,000 times at this point. Like, no one, no one when they were 8 years old said, "I can't wait to grow up and be a phone call representative." No one,
right,
no one said, "I can't wait to grow up and be an insurance agent." Like, no one said that. No one said that.
right.
You may have gotten to that job and it's fine. Those are necessary jobs in life. But
Yeah,
like, if you didn't do it, was your life going to be destroyed? Probably not. But the idea of what if and the idea of letting fear hold you back from that what if, just, I would rather get, my face smacked in trying to do something, um, and realizing, or even the some people might think is the worst case scenario, you go and do it and you're like, this isn't as fun as I thought it is. Okay, whatever. At least
yeah,
you did it though. You
right.
did it. You went and you
Most
did
people,
it. You're like, oh man, I thought this
yeah,
was gonna be everything and it's just not. I'm not feeling that chemistry. Like, I mean, I'm assuming you feel it. Anytime I get in that ring, I feel like I'm at home. Like, I honestly
yeah,
feel like there's no other place I should be. And I ask
mhm,
myself, what took you so long to get here, bro? Like, you should have been here sooner. Like, if and then when I'm leaving, I'm like, damn it, I don't want to leave. This feels like my time's up. I got to give away the fucking spotlight, but I just want to be in here because this is where I feel safe. I don't know.
right. No, I totally agree. And that's the thing is it's fear holding everybody back. There's so many people, I would say most people, they don't ever try. Like, oh yeah, I want to do that. I want to be a wrestler. Well, but how bad? And unfortunately, this day and age, most people are complacent, and they just and I understand you gotta do what you gotta do to survive. But if you want to do this, you'll make it happen. Change your schedule, save your money, move, whatever the case, right? um, I mean, I know a lot of people that are doing it with a family. I've got a family. Like, it's
Right.
just, I don't know, man. You'll figure out a way. And we're competitively priced. Like, it's just such a great time and a great place to be able to do this. And like I said, 12 weeks. Well, at least get you going, get your foot in the door. I'll do the best I can for you. And honestly, and that's some great connections. So come see us, man. Right on the border of the states. That's all I can say. I'm in the same boat. Like I said, I'm 43. So when I started, it was the same thing. It was like, well, too bad I didn't do this, 20 years ago type thing. But I'm here
Right.
now. I'm here now. Let's do
Exactly.
it. So whatever.
Right.
But yeah,
You
I encourage anybody that is on the fence, or this is your dream, your passion, or you got some fear coming up with excuses, whatever. I understand. I've been there, but I promise you, just figure it out for real. You're not gonna regret it. You're gonna
yeah.
regret not doing it.
Exactly. I wouldn't want to be the 60-year-old that like just never even tried. like
Yeah.
never even got in the ring.
Yeah.
Like even if I have a couple of friends who have like, hey man, you should keep going because I want to challenge you to a match. I'm like, I don't know if I'm gonna get that far, but what I'm saying is I would rather try to get there and not make it than to be like, I never tried at all. Right.
Yeah.
And
Um,
it's
if they're afraid to fail, they got to realize failing is doing nothing at all. You automatically fail.
right. Right.
Trying is awesome, man. That's everything. Like life is a journey. Come on now. Like enjoy that ride. It's never gonna. You know, I don't know. I just
No,
encourage everybody get off the couch, come on down. Like for
exactly.
real though.
It's so
Yeah.
true though, because so many people think, well, if I don't try, I won't fail. And it's like, but if you didn't make it, you still failed. Like you
Yeah.
just failed without even putting any fucking effort in. Like you should have at
Right.
least put some effort. Like if you were gonna fail at something, you should at least tried before you failed, right?
Yeah. Yeah. I'd rather fail at it than never even try. That's an automatic fail.
It's
And
It's an automatic fail. People
that's an
don't
automatic,
put it
yeah.
in that perspective. They're like, "Oh, well, I didn't set myself up for failure." No, you just failed it automatically. You
Right.
failed by
By not
default.
doing anything. Yeah.
Would you rather fail because you tried 1,000 times it didn't work, or just by default because you forfeited and you never even showed up in the first place? Like,
Exactly.
what?
Yeah. Thank you.
You
That's
lost?
very well
You
put.
This other person won by forfeits? Oh, come on, man.
Right? Because I didn't get in the
You
ring.
You
Yeah,
wanna
for
you
real. Like,
wanna lose life on forfeit? Let me tell you, there's been a few, and I can say it from experience as an old man, and it's normally it's obviously it's women, right? There's been a couple times in my life, especially as a younger man, where I was like, "Oh, I had a crush on this woman. I should have just asked her out." And then
yeah.
thanks to the glory of social media, I talked to them 15 years later. I'm like, I had a big crush on you back in high school," and talking about a particular one at this point. And she was like,
Uh,
"Probably should have asked me out. Nobody ever did. I might have gone on with you." And I was like, God, son of a mother,
yeah.
right?
Yep.
So
Yeah. No,
what
I've
did I
I've been there
learn?
before. Yeah.
What did I
Statistically, that
learn?
happens a lot. Actually, really attractive women never get asked out because every guy's afraid to. That's actually a big thing nowadays, and nobody's taking
Right?
their shot at anything. So yeah, man,
Yeah.
I just
So if you're
gotta
taking your shot,
encourage
you got a
everybody.
better chance of getting it because might be the only person taking that shot, man.
Exactly. Yeah.
Might be the only one. Just like I could have
Right.
probably been the only dude in that whole school that asked that chick out, and I'm like, yes, I got the dream girl. Would it have worked
Right.
out? That's not the point. The point is I would have had the balls to do it. All right.
Yeah. Yeah. But
Son
you
of
would
a
now.
bitch. Right, right. Oh man. Shout out to I'm not gonna say the full name. Shout out to Brianna. Everybody knows this one. It
Yeah.
was it was it was kind of a thing like 10 years. It was like I had like a super big crush on her like in middle school and like early high school. And I was just like,
Gotcha.
no, she was like, everything. She was like the president of honor society and
Mm,
student council and the cheerleader and this and that and the other thing. So sure every guy in school had a crush on her. Who doesn't have a crush on like the head cheerleader, bro? Come on. This is
right.
America.
Right. Yeah. 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 Yeah.
It's the
Yeah.
greatest cliche we have.
I know, right? That's true. Yeah.
All right, well, so feel like we've hit all the spots. We've really talked it out. I really have been appreciative of this time. I'm so happy you reached out to me so we could put this all together. Um, so yeah, thank you so much for being here today, giving me your time and your energy. It's been really awesome. It's been a lot of fun for me. Hopefully it's been great for you as well.
Yeah, thank you, Chris. It was amazing, man. Privileged to be here. I really appreciate your time as well, and I appreciate you letting me come on and plug the company and myself. And like I said, big things are coming. I really do believe that. But thanks for letting that story get out there to the people if they haven't heard of us. Now they have. So really
Right.
appreciate that, man.
Of
Yeah.
course. I definitely love it. And for anyone who is a fan of the channel who's going to be coming up on the next one, I have the as of right now scheduled Leroy Robinson and the Wind Dragon Dustin Wen. I almost call him the Wen Dragon for some reason, but the
Yeah.
the Wind Dragon Dustin Wen, who normally wrestles out of New Texas Pro. So uh, but yeah, for anybody coming up in the next ones. Those are the ones that we're gonna this actual I'm trying to remember. I literally have just done like 5 podcasts in the last couple of days, so my brain's like, when is this podcast dropping? I don't know. Who's next? We'll
Right.
figure it out later. No big deal. Whatever. But yeah,
Yeah.
once again, thank you so much for being here. And for everybody else, I hope everybody has a good day.
Yep. Thank
Peace.
you very much, Chris. Peace, everyone. Love you all. RisingGreat.com. See you later, guys.
Perfect.